on this show many a time in this segment, Bryndon Manzer, a good friend, and I'm biased, but I think one of the best basketball analysts anywhere, anyhow, anywhere in the country. And we're going to talk a bunch of things, Brindo. First of all, good to talk to you. Get your reaction. I know I've heard several times on TV, but not on our show. Your reaction to Eddie's passing the last couple of days?
Well, it's you don't love that he's not here with us anymore at this time, but TD, I think he was ready. And I talked to Rutherford earlier today, and we were discussing coach, and I heard Randy say on some TV and radio himself, and he brought up a great point that a Sutton family is really intact in a great way. All the three sons are doing great. Got great wives, great families, all these great grandchildren that Coach Sutton was so fond of. So, the most important thing, I know he knows that he left as the patriarch of the family, left that in good shape. And obviously, TD, has always been grateful for my opportunity to play for him. I've had lots of things in my life happen only because I played for him. Now, obviously, you have to produce when you get those opportunities. But from the private sector where I've been in for 18 years, the street credit I had just for being associated with him,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously the TV analyst stuff I do for fun on the side. When I first got into it, I didn't. A lot of times, and as you know, at that level, they want guys, and understandably so, with big time coaching credentials, or had stellar careers in college or NBA, which I did not. I was part of, I was a nice player, part of some really good teams with some studs. But again, playing for coach, this assumed I knew the game and were willing to give me an opportunity. So, a lot of things have positive have come my way, and I also, I told somebody the other day, I think subconsciously I've walked around in my life for several reasons, but one of which is Coach Sutton, was just a quiet confidence that I knew that if I treated people well and worked hard, that good things will happen to you. And I attribute a lot of that to being in his extended family, which you're part of as well.
Everybody that we have talked to, and the former players especially, but coaches say it to some extent, you didn't realize the actual education you were getting until you got away from the program, got away from him, and actually got out and had to start doing things on your own. And so many of the things you heard, so many of the things that maybe just rolled off your back after a practice one day, you took in, and you were head coach, so you probably brought some of those sayings to the court yourself.
Yeah, when I was the head coach, I was barely older than my players. So I had no clue what I was doing, and I just tried to emulate him. I mean, we ran the same stuff. We emphasized defense. Spent the majority of our time on that. I found myself in timeouts talking to those guys, and half the time probably didn't know what I was doing, but acted like I did, and I would say things that he would say. And and that's also when I call a game, I hope that I call it the way that his eyes would see it, which are some basic things, but there's no question. I mean, it was it's been one of the great honors of my life to spend 2 years, but more importantly, as I mentioned, Rutherford and I were talking earlier, 90% of it has nothing to do with basketball or playing for him. Your relationship with him and how he keeps us all connected, and the bond that all of us that played for him, coached with him, even those managers that over the years that he loved, we all have a strong bond. It's not just your era, Country's era, or Desmond's era, or Tony's era. I mean, we all feel a closeness. And to be honest with you, TD, even those guys that played at Arkansas, some of those guys that I've gotten to know over the years, there's a bond between them and us too, because we know what it took to play for him, and then we all know how he's been an advocate.
Well, I don't know if we lost you.
And,
Yeah, okay, go ahead. We got you. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, if you endure Coach Sutton's tough love, you have a friend for life. So, we've all been recipients of that. But no, I'm just more than anything, I know where he is, and feel good about that, and just really feel more blessed than anything after his passing. To be real honest with you.
Couple of things. We had Corey Williams on about an hour ago, and Corey, I asked Corey, to tell me what you thought the first time you practiced under Eddie Sutton, because obviously he was here under Leonard Hamilton, and he had some interesting things. I never worked that hard or that long in my life. What can you imagine? Can you remember at any time that you were here, and let's take a practice session where you might have gone to the dressing room and said, "Man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this."
Yeah, it's funny. That was brought up today. He would make you doubt if you could play when you first got around him. And I remember, it wasn't just guys like me. I mean, I remember Desmond as a freshman, just coach really breaking him down. Desmond Mason.
Mm-hmm.
What would that been, about 97?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah,
somewhere in there, 96, 97 year. And you're frustrated, and why is he? I'm regressing. You almost think, but before you know it, all of a sudden he helps mold you and maximizes your abilities, and you become as good as you can be. And he's obviously was very honest about who you were, what your strengths and what your weaknesses were. But he was also honest about, hey, if you want to help us, or you can help us, but here's the things that you need to do to be an integral part of that. And there's no question, and there is for a lot of junior college players like I was back in those days, an adjustment period. But it took me a good semester or so before I kind of got my back that I came to Oklahoma State with, because he was on you, which was nothing new to me. I played for coaches that were hard nosed. That's probably why I was able to adjust over time. But no, he was he had you thinking sometimes if you wouldn't say it out loud or admit it, but you wondered if you were any good, because he was so demanding. But you ended up in the end, if you took the coaching, better than you ever certainly would have been on your own, and probably at 95% of the other programs in the country.
I will say this, and I don't know how many people who tune into when you're on TV and you're on a lot analyzing basketball, but I pick up on things that you say that I heard day in and day out, every practice that Eddie Sutton was here. So it had to rub off on you, obviously. And Rutherford said the same thing, even on a high school level he's coaching. It's kind of like your own family, your own parents. Once you get away, you one day you turn around and said, I just said something to my kid that they said to me all these years, and I was never gonna be like my dad, and all of a sudden you were. So I think it worked that way with him as well.
Oh, there's no question. Like I said, I'll be honest. I was, my high school coach Jerry Havens, who
mm-hmm.
was unbelievable. Played for he's a Hall of Famer in 2 states. Played for Don Sumner at St. Gregory's, who's a legend and a JUCO Hall of Famer. And then I got to play for Eddie Sutton. These guys had over 2,000 wins between the three of them. And but I think coach's ability to mold guys from different backgrounds together and treat them all not the same, but all fairly. And nobody was excused from his toughness. But we could go on and on about him. But as I do games, TD, the more years I've done this, and I'm not like I played Oklahoma State 5 years ago. It's been a long time, but I've known how great a coach he was. But it's confirmed to me every year just by doing other games. I mean, just how good he was. I joked with one of the news stations over here in Oklahoma City the other day. I said he could walk into McDonald's, take a table of 5, and get them to the NCAA tournament.
That's about right.
You know,
Yeah.
And then might win a game. And I mean, we got so spoiled there for years. I mean, that was kind of, you're going to at least do that. You're going to have a chance to get to, you're going to be one game away from the second weekend. You were part of a lot of those, most of them, PD. And it, I mean, I think we all took it for granted, thought it was just kind of easy. And then in the years he had studs, they made runs to the Final Four, the Elite Eight, and gave them a chance to get, a weekend or two further. So, unbelievable coach. But those of us that are around him know him. Great man. Did a lot of things behind the scenes for people outside the program, unsolicited and quietly, and not for notoriety. I know tons of stories across that OSU campus because my parents worked there for so long, of just him doing kind things for people, and just showing up on somebody's birthday or a kind note or whatever.
Well, I'm looking at you probably won't like it, but Patrick just pulled up a picture when you were playing. I forgot you had the big wavy hair back in those days, man. You had the old wavy.
Well, it was kind of fluffy. So once I would start running around, I think that 99-cent depth gel would kind of wear off or something.
You're not wearing that now on TV. That's for sure.
Oh, no. Now I got I'm a little more upscale now.
Hey, I used to say this all the time, and I truly believe this. It sounds simplistic, but if all you knew about basketball was, the ball went in the hole, went in the basket, and you got a couple of points for it. If you came to a solid month of practices with Eddie Sutton there, I'm not saying you would have been an expert, but you would have been miles ahead of most people knowing the game if you just sat there and listened.
Yeah, you'd know what's most important for sure. Obviously, the defensive end of the floor. I mean, a lot of coaches build their lineups on how are we going to score? How are we best going to score?
Mm-hmm.
Which 5 guys can we score with? Coach Sutton was the opposite. How can we guard the other team? What 5 can guard those guys? That was the priority. And obviously, you had to be able to do both things at the level that he was coaching. But the defense end of the floor, I mean, get stops. What about don't turn it over? But make sure it's known to the team. I mean, every coach says don't turn it over, but in practice, do they stop practice when guys are throwing it in the third row every day and demand that if you do that, you're not going to play? I know it's a little different generation of guys now, but I mean, you knew it's, defend, take care of it. Obviously, rebounding is important. And then the thing that's really elusive today, TD, in games, that I'll be honest with you, I mean, it kind of bothers me when I'm calling basketball games. How about make sure the right guys shoot it?
Yeah.
Make sure Big Country is touching it every possession. Make sure Rutherford and Brooks Thompson are getting open looks. And the rest of you, and if you get something that's in your wheelhouse, take it. But if not, let's work it to those other guys. So that's, now it's almost a free for all.
Yeah.
But anyway, going back to, I mean, that's so when I literally call a game, those are the 4 things I'm looking for is defending? Are they taking care of the ball? Board play? Now, those are easy statistical things. But are the right guys shooting it at the right times? And Coach was a master at defining your role and who you were.
Yeah, and woe was you if you were not the guy designed to take the shot and you took it and missed. That probably didn't go. That never went over big on the bench for sure. Let me ask you this: rumor or truth? Are you coaching this Oklahoma State the basketball tournament team this year?
That is true. So I don't know if it's coaching. It'd be in this situation we're like managing. Don't screw it up, kind of deal. So I think that they felt like probably my obviously my background, but my personality would fit well with it in this kind of deal where um, obviously we got some really good former players that'll be participating, guys that can go. You don't need to overcoach, overmanage a situation like that. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate them, those old guys, Markel Brown and Brian Nash are playing, and Phil Forte, Marshall Moses is going to play. Mike Cobbins is playing. So several other guys, Lindy and Thomas are going to play, who just finished at Oklahoma State. So, but really the key to it is I've got Rutherford. So Rutherford's going to do all the coaching, and I'm going to do all the upfront stuff that he doesn't like to do.
Oh, so Rutherford's going to be on the bench with you. Is that correct? That's a revelation we didn't know.
Yeah, no, he has. I don't know. I guess they kind of announced stuff or whatever, but no, he'll be with me. I told those guys, I said I'll do it, but I want Randy with me, and obviously they were all fired up about that.
Help me out on this thing, I know just generally what as little as I can about it, but it's kind of a winner take all thing, right? The more you advance, you get to that last game, and there's a few bucks to get at the end, right? So, but the competition, I would think, could be pretty stiff around the Midwest, wouldn't it?
Yes. So now, obviously, with COVID-19 in the mix, there's a lot of things that could change and be up in the air. But traditionally, it's a 64-team single elimination tournament. So it's a lot like the NCAA tournament. You have 8 regional sites with 8 teams in each. In Oklahoma State, we would, assuming it goes on as planned, we would be in Wichita. And that's the last week of July. And, you win 3 games there, and you advance out, and they take the Elite 8 or the Final 8, and you go play in Dayton. And it's literally a winner take all, $2 million. And this has been going on for several years now, and there's been really good players and really good teams. This is not, and it's not a bunch of old dudes like me trying to relive the glory days. And there's a bunch of guys that are playing overseas, guys that have been in the NBA. At one time or another, there's been guys that are G League players are allowed. So we're talking like guys that can go. And there's some other little different rules and how you finish a game and that kind of deal. But that's basically the concept is $2 million winner take all, and pretty good deal.
Do you get a chance to work with your team prior to this? Again, not knowing about the virus and how that will alter things, but will you have quote practices before you start playing?
Yeah, we hope to. We intend to, and we will, assuming that we can. And one of the things that we wanted to do with this, since this is the first time Oklahoma State alumni has been in it, we're gonna try to do it up and make it a family thing. And obviously, I know a lot of other institutions and places, feel good about where they came from, but people associated with Oklahoma State know it's different. I mean, there's a true camaraderie that all of us have. Whether you played or not in athletics, or you just went to school there, or you're a fan, or whatever. And so we're going to, the game plan would be about a week before-ish, is bring those guys to Stillwater, mid-July, practice a few days, get up and down and get organized, basically, and then go up to Wichita from there. Roughly about July 23rd, and go play. And so we're kind of waiting on some information from the TBT on what they're going to do because of the situation we're in with COVID-19 and such. And once we know, then we're going to really promote it. We're going to try to get people in the community involved and invite people out. Again, that's assuming we got to have facilities and those type of things. So a lot to be determined, but yeah, absolutely we'll get together and really, there's we'll put a few things in, but ultimately for me, the exciting part is just all being together and letting those young guys go play and try to win them a little bit of money while representing Oklahoma State one more time. I think they're all looking forward to that.
If it were possible, what do you think Eddie's if he could make a phone call today to you and say, Bryndon, about this coaching opportunity you've got, what do you think he'd say?
I don't know. I think maybe he would say something like he told me when I first started coaching years ago. The advice was, Bryndon, you have the ability to have rapport with people and just be honest and upfront with them. And that's what people want is you to be upfront. And what he said was my players moving forward. So just be honest. Don't tell them what they want to hear. And, you use your personality to create chemistry on your teams. That's what he told me many, many years ago.
It probably would apply with this group here too. Can't wait for that to happen. Hopefully it will. And as soon as we know more information from whomever, we'll certainly promote that. And when you guys are getting together, and maybe we get the community behind you as well. As always, B.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope so.
As always, not enough time to continue to reminisce, but appreciate your comments. I was really moved by some of the things you said this past weekend on the TV clips that I saw. We're all feeling bad, but in some ways, it's good to celebrate his life with conversation like we've been doing, and I appreciate you doing that with us today.
He had a gift, and beyond the coaching part, the gift to bond all of us. I mean, our fans, how they felt about him and how he appreciated them. Yeah, he just not a common coach or man, just big time. I mean, he did it well and got up off the mat every time he got knocked down, and that's one of the things I loved about him most.
I think we all share those sentiments. B, I appreciate your time, buddy, and we'll be in contact.
All right, TD. See you, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate that. That's Where Are They Now for today.